Hi everyone, this is Crystal, and today I am working in my Life Crafted album. This is where I'm telling just kind of random stories from the year that either didn't fit into my Project Life album, didn't quite warrant a full 12 by 12 layout, just extra stories. So this is the photo I'm going to be documenting today. It is of some cookies that I baked. The first cookies I have baked in well over a year, but it's quarantine, so of course I had to do some baking. As for supplies, I have pulled out a couple things. This is one of the Journeys Traveler's Notebook basic pages. So this is from the digital shop. It coordinates with the May Journeys Life Crafted kit. And then I also have a page or a couple papers that is out of the scrapbook add-on. So I thought that this just went really well together, and it works really well with the colors in my photo, and the cardstock that came in the scrapbook kit as well just works really well with the colors in my photo. I will definitely be pulling in more supplies as I go, but this at least gives me some place to start. So I'm gonna go ahead and put you on fast forward and start creating. So I'm going to start by trimming out this Traveler's Notebook page, and my trimmer blade is super dull, so I end up having some trouble getting this trimmed down. So first of all, I couldn't remember the size it needed to be, and I tried just to fit it into the pocket, but it was a little too wide, and then when I tried to trim it, it just tore it because the blade was so dull. So I came in with the scissors and trimmed it down, and I have to fuss with it a little bit as usual, but I eventually get it to where it will fit in the pocket and everything works out just fine in the end. So just trimming it down. I do have to take, I think, a little bit more off the top to get it to fit, and then that is going to be it. And then I can trim down the other side of the page. So obviously that page that I just trimmed out is going to go inside of a pocket in my Life Crafted album, but the other side of the page is going to be outside of the pocket. So I want to cut down that Jen Hadfield paper to the size of a page protector. So I just grabbed a ruler and made sure that I knew the correct measurements for that, because I can never seem to remember them from one project to the next. So I measured it to double check, and then trimmed it out. And then again, I had to trim off some of the edge just because my trimmer blade is so dull. Yeah, I really need to get a new one. And then I marked the holes from that page protector, and then grab my 6-hole punch, and I did that just to make sure that it was perfectly aligned with that page protector, and that my holes were centered on the page. Okay, now everything is trimmed out and ready to go. I can start actually working on this page. I'm going to start by matting my photo using the other side of that Jen Hadfield paper. It has the same colors but in the reverse, so it's more of the blue with a white print instead of white with the blue print. And I'm just adding a really thin border of this around my photo. And then I will add a very thin border of that cardstock from the scrapbook add-on kit. And I really like how this really pulled out those darker tones in my photo. There's a kitchen towel next to the plate of cookies, and it has these same colors in it. And adding that tiny little border of that darker teal color really drew out those colors. Okay, so now I can start embellishing. There was this piece from the Amy Tangerine thickers that were in the add-on kit that said "Create Beautiful Things," I believe, and I really wanted to include it. It was the perfect colors, but it doesn't end up making it on the page, and mostly that's because it just felt like it didn't match the style of everything else I had on the page once I get to the point where I'm trying to find a place for it. But we'll get to that here in a second. Right now, I am trying to put together a title. So at the top of that Traveler's Notebook page, there's a place for a place. And I wanted to put "at home." And I wanted to use the Stamp Market alphas from the add-on kit to spell out home, and then to use the Puffy alphas from the Life Crafted kit to spell out at, but I was out of T's. So I've already done several projects with this kit, and I had no more T's. So I decided just to go with home. You can see I used my Thickers alignment tool to get that straight, but before I stuck it down, I had to go away and do my journaling, which I just typed up on my typewriter. Okay, so now the journaling is done, the title is in place, I can start to embellish. I tried really hard to get that Amy Tangerine Thickers to work. I added a bit of kind of more neutral paper to give it some place to sit, but it just didn't fit. It felt a little bit more whimsical, whereas the other items I had on the page felt a little bit more I don't know, not traditional, but less whimsical, I guess. Same with these little pieces from Pinkfish Studio. They just felt a little too whimsical for what I'd had on the page. Even though several of them would have worked with the colors and with the sentiments, they just didn't fit the style. So what I do have is a tag from one of the cut apart sheets and another little label. Actually, 2 tags from the cut apart sheets and another label also from the cut apart sheets. And then there is a die cut on the left hand side there, and I added a label below that. And I really do like that die cut. I like that it brings out that same kind of darker teal color, but ultimately I end up switching it out for something else. I do add one of these Leatherette Puffy stickers, which I absolutely love. Most of them are very travel themed, as this is the Journeys kit, which is kind of travel themed. But there was one that said Best of Today, and I felt like that was perfect for adding to the bottom of this page. But before I start adhering all of these things down, I want to add a stamped sentiment to this label. And I decided to add one that says worth every step. And I thought that that worked kind of on 2 levels because baking is kind of an involved process and there are lots of steps, and these were totally worth that. But it also kind of speaks to the fact that I'm going to have to do a lot of steps to work off these cookies. So I thought that one really worked really well for the subject matter of this page. Okay, so I also decided to stamp the little camera. These are both from the This Is Life stamp set, by the way, from this month, from May. So I decided to stamp out the camera on just some scrap piece of cardstock, and I'm going to use a circle punch to punch that out and create my own little embellishment to add to one of these clusters. I thought about adding it below my photo, but it just didn't quite fit. You'll see here in a second that it doesn't really fit with those other 2 things that I have there, and I definitely want to include both of those. So I will end up moving it over to the other side of the page once I adhere this down and get things stuck and realize that it doesn't really quite fit there. So I'm just adhering that tag and that Leatherette sticker, and then yeah, it would run off the page, and nothing else is running off the page. It would just kind of not look right for that spot. So I auditioned a few other things there you could see, but ultimately I'm going to leave it as is. It ends up being a very simple page, and I really like that it's just a simple, pretty page. So this is where I took off that die cut, the darker teal die cut, and instead I'm going to use a couple of these phrase stickers. So these are tiny phrase stickers that were a subscriber perk in this month's kit. I'm going to use 2 of them. You'll see I try a couple different ones. I tried one of the 3 color ones, and then I'll try a blue one as well, but I end up sticking with the green just because I felt like it looked a little too busy having multiple colors there, and I really liked the look of just the kind of larger cluster of a single color. And then I can add that camera that I stamped and add that to the little place there on the bottom of the Traveler's Notebook page. And then the last thing I'm going to do is add my date stamp. So I'm using my Heidi Swap date stamp. It's a bit larger. It has the months in cursive. And of course it was filthy, so I had to stamp it off a bunch of times to try and clean it before I could use that teal ink to stamp the date. And then that's going to be it. Off camera I do decide to add a bit of twine to the top of that tag, but otherwise it's a really simple page documenting part of our quarantine routine so far. So I'm really happy to get this story documented and really happy with how this page turns out. I hope that you found some inspiration in this video and are inspired to use your kits as well. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all back here very soon.